Hello and welcome to the Urban Penguin channel on YouTube. My name is Andrew Mallett and I'm delighted to be able to welcome you to this presentation where we take a look at how we can obscure or hide our servers on the network by blocking network pings. Now sure, it's not going to stop your server being discovered or the services that run on it being discovered, but if your server doesn't respond to pings, it certainly makes it less visible, which is just one of the steps that we would want to implement to help secure your servers. As always, this video is getting you ready for your LPIC Level 3 certification in Linux security. If we take a look at the default scenario, of course I'm able to ping myself, we'll be able to get a response, but of course everybody else on the network would also be able to ping me. And many attacks start with a ping sweep of the network where each device on the subnet is actually pinged, and of course if your server responds, then the attacker is likely to look in more detail at your service. Whereas if you had to go through all 65,000 possible port numbers on your servers to see if they were open, it's going to take a lot more time. So certainly in an initial sweep, the interest is going to be on the servers that respond to a ping. So obviously if you're not responding to a ping, the likelihood is you're going to pass that first level of security. So it's a multifaceted thing, a little bit like an onion, making sure that we've got multiple levels of protection. If we look at the default of the kernel settings for our ICMP responses, our ping responses, we can go through and use sysctl. And if we go through and say, look, for the everything, but to drill it down, we'll add in a pattern, and the pattern, our regular expression that we're going to put in, is going to be then ICMP underscore echo. I know the keys start with this, so we can go through and add that in. Now when we go through and take a look, we can see that we ignore broadcasts, so that's a value of 1, which is turned on, so we ignore broadcasts. So that's a good thing. But we can see at the moment we are responding to directed ICMP echoes. So we've got the ignore all. So there's a possibility, especially with the server, that we would perhaps want to turn this off. Bear in mind that does stop you being able to ping the server to see if it's available, and that might also affect some of your monitoring software, because your monitoring software might be sending a simple ping to it, and then all of a sudden you can get red lights coming up where your monitoring service, something like Nagios maybe, might not be configured to check the availability of your server other than by a ping. Certainly there are other ways to monitor your server. That said, we'll go through and implement this. So we're going to go through and use sudo because we are now writing through to this. So we're going to use then sudo and sysctl -w to write. Now remember, we've seen videos of this before, but if you haven't seen how sysctl works, make sure that you read the website, theurbanpenguin.com, or take a look at my playlist on YouTube for the Linux security course, and we'll see how we also can add these settings through to our configuration files to persist the setting. We want to then be writing, and I'm just going to grab the setting from here so I can go through and copy and paste, and don't forget that we don't want any of the additional spaces at the end, so we can then go through and write that. And of course I want to write it as a value 1, not as it was. So now when I go back and rerun my ping, so I can use !P to run the last command that started with P, we can see now that we're not getting a response even from the local host to the local host. It's turned off at the kernel level through the protocol driver. So we can see then that we sent 3 ping packets and we didn't respond to any. Thank you very much for watching, and I do hope you've got a lot out of this video, whether you're studying for the exam or just building your own Linux security skills for real life. If you like what you see, why don't you subscribe to my channel, The Urban Penguin, on YouTube. Also, as I mentioned earlier, I have a playlist of all of these videos that we're compiling for the LPIC Level 3 security exam 303-200, so why don't you take a look at those as well.